It's time now to take a look at stories making the headlines on Nigerian newspapers. And I have with me in the studio political technocrat, Dr. Dayo Kayode, and public affairs analyst, Dotun Ojon. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, somebody, if you have greeted me over the weekend and said, Doctor, TVC Onibaje. I said, Obajeti. So I will also greet you this morning. TVC Onibaje.
Obajeti.
Happy Monday to you, Veronica.
Same to you, Dotun. All right, let's head straight to the papers now. And I begin with the blueprint. Federal government replies US-based gate on terrorism. You are a distraction, pesky irritant. Says group wants to weaken ongoing insurgency fight. You find the details of that story on the pages of the blueprint. We move to the leadership newspaper now. Terrorism sponsorship allegation. Government officials not sponsoring terrorism. Federal government declares. All of those details on the pages of the leadership newspaper. To the Daily Trust, certificate, age scandal rocks ICPC, affected staff given soft landing. It's routine verification, commission says, mom on scandal. Details on the pages of the Daily Trust. To the Nation newspaper now, how federal government plans to utilize fresh foreign loans. New borrowings push Nigeria's debt stock to 52 trillion naira. All right, to the Punch newspaper now. INEC lists core members to conduct direct primaries. INEC officials, federal government schools, lecturers, agencies, commissions, workers lined up. NYSC remains largest single pool of personnel available to INEC ex-director. All right, to the Nigerian Tribune, APC cloud over convention, aggrieved members fail to shift ground. Consensus tears apart Plateau chapter. Matawali Marafa's feud deepens in Zamfara. Ekiti APC faction insists on court case. APC National Secretary Akpabio sustained supremacy contest. Details on the pages of the Nigerian Tribune. To this Nigerian newspaper now, raid on Odili's residence. Serap asks UN to prevail on federal government to bring culprits to justice. You find the details on the pages of this Nigerian newspaper. To the Business Day now, Lagos rekindles hope in rail system 38 years after conception. Details on the pages of the Business Day. To the Vanguard newspaper, children school without books as cost of paper hits the roof. High cost of paper removes books from students' bags. 60-gram paper, now 10,500 naira from 5,100 naira. Card for cover now 17,800 from 6,000 naira. Remove import duty on paper. Publishers are speaking. Writers now publish abroad. Removing duty on paper may not be solution. We need to firm up our currency, says federal government. A worrying development there with regards to education. All right, to the Daily Sun now. Outrage over 54% hike in electricity meter prices. Rising cooking gas prices. Energy tariff worsening plight of Nigerians will resist fresh hike. Consumers also reacting. All right, to the Guardian newspaper, manufacturers lose 50% half-year profit to operating forex costs. Epileptic power supply exchange rate raised cost of production by 30%. Stakeholders urge federal government to reschedule existing loans, grant tax holiday to firms. Local sourcing of raw material solution to forex scarcity, says Man. To the Business AM now. Nigerians living in economic doomsdays amid rising prices. You find a lot of the details on the pages of the Business AM. To the national economy, new revenue sharing formula to confirm more responsibility on local governments areas. All right, details, you find it there on the pages of the national economy. To the News Direct, Continental Trade Investment, Buhari seeks $40 billion deals from Durban, South Africa. And on the First News newspaper, EFCC detains MD of First Bank Holdings, Okonkwo. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Independent, banks hedge against new credits, prefer CBN LDR fines. All of those details on the pages of the Daily Independent. Let's begin with this story on the page of the Punch newspaper, talking about INEC listing core members to conduct direct primaries. Now, that's the focus, because this issue has generated some level of controversy in recent times, direct, indirect primaries, because the House of Reps decided to tinker with, the provisions, saying that direct primaries is going to be mandatory. And we saw some governors reacting. The reason, according to the Speaker of the House of Reps, Femi Gbajabiamila rather, says the amendment of that section is to reflect the ethos of democracy. But some have said that perhaps his decision may not be democratic. Let's begin with you, Dotun. You are the politician.
Well, as a person that has actually participated in, and thank God he too has gone through that route, and as the chairman of a political party presently, I looked at the entire thing, and I came back to the Nigerian man, or to the Nigerian. What makes election process good or bad in Nigeria today is not INEC. It's not even police. It is the state of the Nigerian man, or the Nigerian. Before you read this INEC story, you have read a whole lot of stories that have to do with the economy. These are the stories that will have effect on whether election in Nigeria will turn out well and not the process.
Really?
Yes. Now we have indirect primary, which is a product of the fact that we think that there were a lot of issues with the direct primary, especially with the governors, that the majority of them have the intention of monopolizing the party. And because of that, they determine who a delegate is. At the end of the day, they have the number of statutory delegates, their SAs, their PAs, and before you know it, a single man decides the direction of the primary election. But now we're trying to return power to the people through indirect primary, but you are not looking at the economy of the person you are returning power to. What may happen at the end of the day is that the exact same template that you have during the general election is what you will have during the primary election. And what's the template? The Nigerian man is hungry. Outrage, hike in electricity, we talk about food, we talk about paper and everything. So the Nigerian man is positioning himself to gain from the process of governance. And what will happen? On the day of primary election, it will be a pre-election largesse. The Nigerian man will stay on queue and will collect money before he votes, even during the primary election. That is number one. You
think so?
I know so.
Right.
I know
you are not thinking, right.
I know so. Now that's number one. Number two is you look at the logistics also. There are 18 political parties in Nigeria today, and all of them will do primaries at one point or the other. You don't want to gather out the 18 political parties to do their primaries at once. That means you will need at least 18 days to do primary for each, maybe you want to do everything together for each of the political party. That means the budget of INEC will also go up. Now, is the nation ready for that kind of thing, considering
which is what Malami is talking about.
Considering the fact that we've been talking about not having enough money even when we live in prosperity. That's a discussion for another day. So these are some of the things that we'll continue to look into, but there's nothing wrong with with direct primary. It's not about the process, it's about the person, the personality that is involved in the
if there's nothing wrong with the process, why are there agitations by these governors? What are they afraid of? What do you think they are afraid of?
Yeah, you see, let's first of all bring to the notice of our viewers what direct and indirect primaries.
Which he tried to explain.
Okay. Indirect primaries is as when you have delegates to go and vote during the primaries for the candidates for a particular elective position. Now, who comes about those delegates? And who are those delegates? How do you come about those delegates? Those delegates are, one, elected members into any position of that particular party. 2, those people that are having appointments within that party, then some special delegates again by either the governor, then if they are the one controlling the center, by also the president. Meanwhile, direct primaries has to do with
card-carrying members,
party leaders.
No, even party leaders. Yeah, I mean it is assumed because now when it comes to direct, they are the card-carrying members of each political party.
Right.
But then I will give a question mark to that. When I get there, I will tell you why that big question mark. Now, in those days, during UPN, MPN, by God's grace, I was able to witness their primaries. Why? Because my father belonged to UPN. I do follow him. My mom's uncle belongs to MPN. And he was so much in love with me. So most of the times, I also go around with him. So I was at that tender age, watching what were going on in those parties. And what happened is this. Before you vote, as a member, card-carrying member of that party, you will show your receipt that you have been contributing to that party.
Your dues.
Your dues. Not that somebody will come as a money bag. No. Before you vote, they will even see the dates. Not that because primary is coming, somebody now decide to pay for you. Backlog. No. You will have to show before. Unlike these days. Now, when it also comes to direct primaries, where I say a big question mark. Mark you, go outside there. You see people having cards, membership cards of 2, 3, 4, 5 political parties. So the issue now is, when they are doing the primary of this, because of the money that will be shared, you will see him there. When they are doing that, you also see him there. Just like when you are doing rally would indicate the number of votes we have. Because the same crowd you see with party A is the same crowd you will see with party B.
Right.
Now let us come to what is now happening. Number 1, in our constitution, are parties not having independence of, are not independent of National Assembly with their constitution? So why should the party's constitution be amended by National Assembly? I still don't know why. Because a party can sit down and say, look, this is the way I want to conduct my primaries. In as much as members of that party
are in agreement.
Right. So what concerns, I still don't know what concerns
the National
Honorable Bajabi Amila for saying no, it should be this or that. There is what we call party supremacy. If during the last election, especially in Lagos State, where we are, Lagos State, they came up, they said, look, what we want to do this time around is not indirect primaries, but direct primaries. And the elders of the party agreed to that. And it was
so
what they used.
The party ideology should drive
the direction of what they are doing there. The only thing.
So you are in support of those governors who are agitating that something has to be done.
What I'm in support is, let each party sit down on their own and decide which one they want to use. Not the National Assembly dictating for them. But there must be an agreement among members of that party. Okay, we are using either direct primaries or indirect primaries. But then again, while they are doing that, there is a provision which says INEC should supervise, not to conduct. Mark you, INEC is just there to witness, not to conduct.
Isn't that what they have been doing?
No, because when he was talking about okay, INEC will conduct 80 primaries in a day, that will shoot up their budget. Yeah, it might shoot up their budget, no doubt about it.
But the issue is supervising, they'll still have to have a budget.
But what I'm saying is, INEC is not to conduct primary elections for parties. No, INEC is to supervise.
It's actually a matter of semantics. But what I'm concerned about is quickly, I'm a chairman of a party, in your Progressive Party, and you discover that
I've also been a chairman
if
of
you
a party
if you read some of these constitutions, there's a room of either primary or either direct or indirect primary across some of these major political parties. But my concern is, Veronica, what makes democracy democracy? What makes it different from military rule is the National Assembly. When you remove the National Assembly from democracy or the state houses of assembly, then you are better practicing another kind of government, not democracy.
Okay.
So it's not going to be right for us to think, either as a politician or as people on the street, as Nigerians, for us to think that they do not have the power to change anything in the books of the law. They are the symbol of our democratic practices.
But he's talking about the independence of the party has to have its independence.
You see, it's very clear in the Constitution. Right. They did not peep into your Constitution to say they want to change the political party Constitution. What they are working on is the Electoral Act.
Yes.
And the Electoral Act, any part of your Constitution that conflicts the Nigerian Constitution or the bows to the provision of the Constitution or the Electoral Act. So what they are doing now, they have the power.
So from what you're saying, but this indirectly. Sorry, but listen, changing all of those.
Yes, but you see, in democracy, even in advanced democracy, parties still have they still have their supremacy, especially when it comes to activities and conduct of that particular political party.
The supremacy of your party is within your party.
It does not infringe on the rights and obligations they have to the environment, to that nation. But when it comes to selecting who becomes their flag bearer, they have the audacity, they have the total temerity to dictate which area, how, when they want to do it. And that is why even INEC normally give timetable. They cannot tell you that you must do your primary at so time. No, they will tell you between so time and so time. They will give you a time frame for you to choose from. So that is to tell you that even INEC, that supervises all these political parties, they still recognizes the supremacy of political parties.
The supremacy of political parties is actually on its members and perhaps the activities within
and the way they conduct themselves.
And the way they conduct themselves. And that's why
which is inclusive for the primaries.
I made a point earlier on. I believe that those who drafted some of these constitutions have actually peeped into the future, that some of these things may come up.
What do you think they saw in the future?
No, I'm trying to make a point. When I believe they have peeped into the future by saying that they can either adopt direct or
but
indirect
some of these
primary.
people were beneficiaries of either of this.
You see, you will not say because you are a beneficiary to a system, and if there's a need for an urgent change. See, Veronica, the problem in Nigeria is not is the fact that we have built a few too powerful politicians, and majority of them are the governors. Now governors are shouting for resource control, but in their heart of heart, how far have they controlled the resources in the local government? We cannot continue to be building a few powerful men who will have control over the entire electionary process. And that's what is happening. By the time I fear for poverty, I fear that poverty may derail the intention of the National Assembly. But let us for once return power to the people. I know people may actually misuse the power because of poverty, but gradually we are getting somewhere. The way forward, Veronica, is not even, like I said earlier, it's not whether direct or indirect. Now for us to have the dividend of democracy, to have the right people sit in position of authority, is for us to populate the entire election process with people with different mindset. Dr. Kayode made mention of something. These people are card-carrying members of many political parties. And INEC does not have a mechanism to actually dictate that, oh, Veronica, maybe you've been a member of this political party or not. Because I doubt whether voters' card will be used in the primary election. No. Except they want to introduce the issue of voters' card now, so that if Veronica is verified to have voted in a particular political party, she will not have the opportunity to go to
another party.
Some of these things take time.
Which is where I was trying to chip in. You see, all we need to do, whether as regards voters registration, whether as regards primaries or no primaries, building a strong politician, all we just need to do is simple. Let us build a strong institution that will be able to manage and control all these dictates of our constitution and party politics. Okay? In terms of if you are using direct primaries or indirect primaries, that institution will have been able to see whether you are using it to your own advantage or to the disadvantage of others. And by so doing, for instance, look at what is happening in Anambra. Uba said he is going to court because of two things, okay? And he mentioned them. So what I'm saying in essence is, if before now we have built a very strong institution, all those things he mentioned wouldn't have happened. So for our electoral process to move forward and for us to grow democratically, and for the people to also be responsive to their duties, obligations, and responsibilities politically, we have to get that strong institution that will oversee and
this is
not
taking us on the path of strong institution, having that strong institution.
We are
this
strong institutions now.
This decision is not taking us on that path.
No, we are still meandering over frivolities.
All right. We have to leave the conversation here now. Gentlemen, Dr. Dayo Kayode and Dotun Ojon, we must thank you for your time on the program.